What's going on, Mad Hatters, and welcome back to the Madhouse. And today's mad story is all about deck lists, because what we're doing today is looking at things that I've been testing, that I've had success with, that I've had a lot of tinkering with and things like that, because I'm still on vacation after my deployment. So I've had a lot of time because I'm not working, and it's been a lot of fun. Set 10 is a massive breath of fresh air. I hope you guys feel the same. So what you guys have been enjoying, let me know down in the comments, okay? Let me know if you get some ideas from the list, but let's just get into it, okay? Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into these lists and have just rock and roll, baby. So first up, we've got blue yellow. We've got blue yellow detectives, and right off the bat, this was something I was inspired by Frank Karsten. He got on the podcast with Kawa and talked about his blue yellow list. And I am not Frank Karsten. I do not run decks that have one of 10 different cards. So I pretty much brought it down to a two-liner, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. There is just some nasty plays that I don't think can lose, that they are a little high rolly, and the deck can still feel a little bad on the draw. That's been a common thing for blue yellow, but one of the big things that got answered for blue yellow was draw, and where the draw is still not excellent. The Judy Hopps, the 4-cost Judy Hopps, looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, right? When you play this character, whenever she quests, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a detective character card and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So when we look at this deck, there's a lot of detectives. There is 28 detectives in this list. Shout out to Two Changs and I Am Sec from the Flower Farm for doing some math for us, but that's an 85% chance to pull a detective from Judy Hopps. So Judy Hopps is almost always drawing us a card, and that is huge. That is such a massive thing for this deck to be able to see success. The other nice thing about this deck is that you're not held to the normal blue motto of ramps or alter 7 for ramp. So if you see Sail, that's awesome. If you see Mickey, that's great, but you don't need it to win. And that's felt really good. If you guys have been watching, I've just not been a fan of that type of blue play. So that's felt really good. But the top tier move that you can do when you're on the play, you go Baby Daisy. You quest for 2, give them a card. We don't care. And then you sail on turn 2. So you quest on turn 2, you sail on turn 2, and then on turn 3, you shift the big Daisy Duck, and then you sing Down in New Orleans. And if Down in New Orleans finds you a Thunderbolt, it's game over. That's it. There's just so little that they can do at this point, because the shift Daisy Duck, if you did not know, she is a 4/6/2. She is shift 4. She is support. When this character is exerted, cards enter opponent's inkwells exerted. So they are now playing an ink behind. All right. Imagine you're a Blurple player. You ramp on turn 2. You go into your turn 3 expecting to play a 4-drop, and you can only play a 3-drop. And if you guys have looked at Blurple decks, they don't run 3-drops, all right? It's the same thing for green blue. If you shift Daisy Duck and their turn 4 or their turn 3 is supposed to be a 4-drop Cinderella, they can't do it anymore, and they don't run anything else, so they just sit there and do nothing. So you just quest for free. Now you're questing with Daisy and Thunderbolt, or maybe Daisy and Donald. There's so many strong things. So that turn 1, 2, 3, that shift Daisy into Down New Orleans is the high roll of high rolls, and it feels really good. Other nice things is Ludwig von Drake on the play is just extremely busted into all this blue. You hit their ramp and it's game over. They just lose on the spot. Rapunzel's felt really good with all the support, because you can protect your characters and they can quest for free almost. They have to do two sources of damage to that one character to remove it. You have Minnie Mouse, which is helping you take care of other characters. One thing to keep in mind with Minnie Mouse is that she only works on exerted characters. So whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen exerted character with 5 attack or more. So it's only exerted characters. I didn't realize this when I first played her, so that was a rude awakening. But with all these support characters, it's really easy to feed the Minnie Mouse. So that gets really annoying. And then, of course, World's Greatest Criminal Mind is an easy removal option for everything that's being played when you run all of these support characters. So I've had games where I just go Basil on 1, Ludwig von Drake or Rapunzel on 2, and then I hard cast World's Greatest Criminal Mind on turn 3, and then go Judy Hopps. And there you have nothing on the board. We have a board, we're drawing, and it just feels really good. So this list has felt great. There is some tinkering to be done, right? So some of the things that I am considering is maybe the Raja. We saw that in Frank Karsten's list. Raja just feels really nice for the same reason Thunderbolt feels nice, in that you're just protecting your characters. So now your opponent, if you go something like Basil into Rapunzel into Raja, your opponent now has to get through your bodyguard that they have to hit twice to get through. So they have to hit it with a character and Thunderbolt it. Like, there's so many things. So Raja can make things really difficult for your opponent. So possibly throwing that in the Mickey Mouse spot, maybe bringing Mickey Mouse down 1 or 2. That does lower your detectives a little bit though, so something to keep in mind. Baloo has been a thought to replace the Thunderbolt, because Baloo with bodyguard and support and questing for 2, the only difference is that support as well as that 1 extra health. But I don't know if that's necessarily worth it, because right now you can do something like turn 1 Daisy, and then you play a Ludwig, and then you Mickey Mouse on turn 3, and then you can play Thunderbolt on the next turn. So I don't know if that 6-drop Baloo is going to be worth it. I think it's more high roll for New Orleans, but something to explore. And then finally patch. If we're running the 4 Thunderbolts, it might be worth just throwing the patch in here, because that is a really strong turn 3 when you shift that. So something else to consider. I don't think patch will happen. I don't think Baloo will happen, but things to consider overall in the list. But this list, it's felt really good. On the play, it feels fantastic. And then on the draw, it still needs a little bit of work, but it hasn't felt bad. So something to consider. Next up, we do have another detectives list, and this is a big shout out to Lorfessor. I was looking at Blue Steel detectives, and he was brewing, this, and when I saw this, I immediately dropped Blue Steel Detectives, because one of the issues with Green Blue in the last set was that Green Blue wasn't consistent. That's why, it just wasn't. No one can tell me or make an argument that Blue Green was a consistent deck in set 9. It was not. If you did not see Big Cow, then the odds of you winning dropped drastically. So now you needed to see Ramp on turn 2, and you needed to see the Big Cow, and that's a lot to ask for when you have to alter 7 to get to the Big Cow, or to get to your ramp. So it just wasn't super consistent. So that's where we bring in Judy Hopps, and Judy Hopps has helped change that a lot, in my opinion. Judy Hopps, we're not running 28 detectives in this list, but we're running 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 16, 18, 22. We're running 22 detectives in this list, and that has felt good. All right, you miss with Judy Hopps more often, but you hit more often than not. It's still something. If we go back a slide, so we're probably like somewhere around 75% chance of hitting a detective. That feels pretty good. So we look at the other stuff in the list. What goes with Judy Hopps? So what other good detectives? Donald Duck feels great. Basil is an amazing card, because your opponent has to respect the discard now, as well as questing for 2. But what you can also do is you can go Basil on turn 1, Tipo on turn 2, shift Basil on turn 3, and under the sea if you really need to. If your opponent has something is that scary, then you have that option as well. So one thing that's getting really popular is the yellow-green Circle of Life deck, and you don't want their Circle of Life to get active. So you might have to Basil shift under the sea. So that is a combo that is available because of Basil. You also have the discard, which is so powerful. Judy Hopps 6 cost. During your turn, your detective characters gain alert and resist +2. Helps you answer another discrepancy with blue-green last set, in that they could have a hard time time dealing with evasive characters. So Judy Hopps helps us to deal with those evasive characters, at least the Dumbo, very easily. Until we get Basil down, it's a little bit harder to deal with those evasive characters, the 7-cost Basil. But even if we get our shift Basil down, Judy Hopps lets shift Basil answer Genie and, well, not quite Elsa, but close, right? So a couple different things. And so we answered the consistency issue, which was the #1 problem, and my camera just zoomed in, and we answer the evasive problem in a better way. So now we have a lot of different options, and this deck has felt super consistent. You have the Prince Philip board wipe, a board wipe where you get to clear your opponent's board and keep your entire board, feels pretty good. And I have not missed the 2-drop Prince Philip at all. Not even a little bit have I missed the 3-drop Prince Philip. We don't need it. We can ramp fast enough, we can hold off the board fast enough, and then you just play the Prince Philip without needing to play the 3 cost. It is just honestly a bad top deck in a deck like this. We just do not need it, and I will continually say that for all green and blue decks as this set goes on. And then finally, the only change that I made from Lorfessor's list is running 1 jump ahead. Again, I'm not a fan of Alter 7 just so I can find ramp. And yes, there are games where you still might have to, but at least in my opening hand, that 1 jump ahead helps a little bit more seeing ramp in my opening hand, but also it feels better. I feel a little bit safer maybe going altering 6 if I really need something, like keeping the Judy Hopps, or even if I do have to alter 7, I have a much better chance of seeing ramp than if I did not have the 1 jump ahead. And then if I just go Tipo on turn 2, I can seeing 1 jump ahead with Tipo, and that puts me at such a big ink lead that I can do some pretty unstoppable things at that point. So if we look at the list, the only thing that could possibly change, in my opinion, from this list is replacing Donald Duck with Cinderella. And it kind of goes to the same idea of Tipo singing 1 jump ahead. If we replace Donald Duck with Cinderella, then Cinderella is letting us really abuse a really high ink count. The problem is that they don't do the same thing, and I think this green-blue list is perfectly fine, and I don't know how much you'd actually change from it. It has felt extremely consistent and very good, so I don't know how much we change, and I don't think Cinderella makes the cut because it's not drawing a card, right? You get to ink and it replaces the ink, and that's great, and it can unbrick your hands, but right now the deck is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 uninkables. We don't really brick. We don't brick with this deck. It doesn't happen. And it can, but the odds of it are very slim. And Cinderella helps us brick. Also, it doesn't draw us cards like the Donald Duck does. Donald Duck feeds our Clarabelle and things like that. So I don't think it makes a change, but that is one thing that people brought up on the stream that maybe I can look into. So there is Cinderella. But the last thing I'll say on this deck is this deck has no new cards that are going to be really hard to get a hold of if you have an early tournament. So if you wanted a deck that would do really well without needing to invest a whole bunch of money into the $50 Cinderellas and things like that, this deck is going to be able to do that because the Judy Hopps is a super rare that should still be easy to find, and the other Judy Hopps is a rare, and that shouldn't be too bad either. So definitely give this deck a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Next up on our list, we've got some Amber Steel Circle of Life. And this list has been a lot of fun. And I was messing around with this, and then I saw that our boy DeCandio had posted a list, and I really liked some of the inclusions that he made, some things that I hadn't thought of yet. Master Deck Builder, and one of those big things was David up there, the 3-cost inkable 3/2/1. When you play this character, you may choose and discard a card to deal 2 damage to chosen character. And I thought this was really, really clever because one of the issues that I was having with the list is that the 3-drop slot was lacking, and I didn't like the lack of discard in the list overall. When you look at yellow-green discard or Circle of Life lists, they have Tramp, and that's going to be their really big engine. They could also run Yzma, but Tramp is the big one, and we don't have a Tramp. So our discard options are Mulan, Hudson, David, and Dale, and all of these cards doing well, but David was especially important because it helped us answer some of those early threats. Maybe they play the Captain Hook or the Basil, the Clarabelle, so David's helping us answer those shift lines, but also helping us answer some of those cards that are just getting passive lore or challenging our singers, things like that. So David has been a super top tier. He trades well, and just that 1 damage, or that 2 damage to also feed our circle of life has been great. Looking at the rest of the list, where I'm opting to run the 8 Singer 4s because I can go turn 1 Mulan into Troubadour into Ursula, and then possibly Circle of Life on turn 4. And it's really hard for most decks to deal with Troubadour and or Ursula, especially when they're not exerting themselves. It also helps us feed Thunderbolt as well as Strength of a Raging Fire. You'll notice that I'm only on 2 Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt has been a good card. Like, I have enjoyed it, but it also, if we're running something like David, right? If David's our turn 3, then Thunderbolt, we don't have a lot of hand to mess with. So remember, with these songs, you're getting rid of your hand without the benefit of a whole new world to refill your hand. So it can be a little hard to want to run those, and then you're just top decking really, really quickly. So I opted to just run 2 more as an emergency situation. But to be honest, Thunderbolt may get cut completely because of Lantern, and Lantern has felt phenomenal. Like, you can high roll with Lantern in a way that I don't think you can lose, and I'll walk you through that. What happens is you go Mulan on turn 1, then you go Mulan on turn 1, you discard a Stitch, a Goliath, a Vincenzo, it doesn't matter, you discard one of those, and then on turn 2 you play Lantern, turn 3 you play Mickey Mouse, and then turn 4 you play another Amber character. And now Mickey Mouse sings Circle of Life to bring back one of those characters. Maybe it was Stitch, so now you draw 2 cards. Vincenzo answers something in quest for 3. Goliath is refilling hands and messing with your opponent's hand. Simba is, now you set up Simba to just start getting even more on the board. So Lantern into Mickey Mouse is just a godly start. And then on top of that, all your characters get +2 willpower as well. Well, your Amber characters, and there's a lot of Amber in this deck. So I mean, your Stitch becomes a 4/10. Pretty good. That's pretty good. So there's just some really cool plays with this deck, and I think Lantern is ultimately what's going to change. But look, before we get to that, Hudson stays. He discards a card, so he filters your hand, but he lets you draw a card and discard a card, which feeds your Circle of Life. Dale is awesome because what he can do is he feeds your Circle of Life by discarding 3 cards, but also you could potentially get a cheeky little lore out of it, or you could sing Thunderbolt or Strength of a Raging Fire on a character, and then they can't take out your Troubadour or Ursula because you give another character -3 strength. So there's just a lot of cool things that you can do with the list. The list has felt really good. It's been a lot of fun, but still some tinkering, right? Maybe these aren't the right characters. Maybe we can fit in a big giant Mickey Mouse to just be really annoying. If Blurple's not really popular, we fit in a big giant Mickey Mouse. There's not a lot of decks that can deal with it, but green blue is still a deck, so you have to be wary of that. But if we look at what changes I might make, there's quite a few things that I still want to test. While doing this video, I think 4 lanterns is the way, so making room for 4 lanterns, or at least 3. I know that's the DeCandio special, is 3 lanterns, so maybe going that route would feel really good. Remember, we don't want a whole lot that's going to hurt our Simba, so maybe that alone is enough to cut the Thunderbolts completely, add in a 3rd lantern, and then add in 1 other card. So, but other things in the list, the Tinkerbell shift line could always be an option. When you're running Lantern, you can go Tinkerbell shift and get that down relatively easily, so that's an option. The recovered page is a way to feed your Simba. I think we want a little bit more boost if we wanted to go the recovered page route, but that does let us search for a character, and it does feed our Simba, which is really nice. Headless Horseman is just a nice, clever way to really mess with your opponent. So you play Headless Horseman, and if you're against green blue, which is a very combo heavy deck, then you play that, they draw 3 cards. Well, you both draw 3 cards, and then you discard 3 cards and deal 2 damage to them for each action, or to a character discarded this way. So what happens is you play Headless Horseman, each player draws 3 cards. regardless of if you have any cards in your hand or not, you draw 3 cards and then you discard 3 cards at random. So that at random can really, maybe your opponent's holding on to that Prince Philip to do that big line, or maybe they're holding on to a Hades, whatever. And then you use Headless Horseman, and then you discard those 3 cards, and then you can choose an opponent's character to deal damage to. So maybe you end up discarding 4 actions, so you can deal 8 damage now, and 2, 4, 6, 8, and now that can change who you want to take out. So that is a super important thing. There is, you don't have to choose, you don't choose the character to target until you see how much damage you're going to be doing. So keep that in mind, okay? But I'm much faster. The 1 cost song is, you can chosen character gains alert and challenger +2, so now you can take out a lot of things. You could run, but I'm much faster, and your Ursula can now take out a Dumbo, and that is a big deal. So this deck doesn't have any evasive answers, so if your opponent just goes really hard in the paint with a bunch of evasive stuff, some Genies, some Dumbos, some Elsas, there's really nothing you can do to stop them other than try and race them. And maybe that is the answer. Remember, anything that's not a character is making our deck a little arguably worse, because it makes Simba that much harder to trigger. The last one is Chippendale. We're already running 2 of the 4 cost Chippendales. What's adding another one? Because now we can Lantern on 2, play Dale on turn 3, and shift Chippendale on turn 4, and then we have a 6/6/3 body that's really tough to deal with. So just a couple different options, but a list that's felt really, really good for Amber Steel that's not aggro, because, ladies and gentlemen, Steel Song's not coming back this set. It's not. If you're worried about it, don't be. Trust me, it's not coming back. I know. This is the new Steel Song. But moving on, we have our next list, which is green purple. So shout out to Lorcana Justice and David for building this deck last set, right? This is the deck that kind of got really popular after the DLC. Well, it never got popular, but everybody was talking about it for a little while because it was fun to watch. I just did a video on this. It is a slower deck, but there's not a lot of things. We got Webby. Webby is a huge card for this deck. If you remember, the previous iteration of green purple was running Hey Hey, and Hey Hey felt bad. It felt good when it worked, but it felt bad when it didn't work. So on the play, it was a tough card. It didn't come down till turn 4, so that was really rough, and you felt bad holding on to it because it was a bad turn 4 play. On the draw, it could come down a little bit earlier. Against Blurple, it was great, but against most other decks, it just felt really bad. But Webby comes in and changes all of that. Webby is a never-ending Hey Hey now, right? Because now if you're against a blue deck and they really need to ramp, for example, blue steel, and they really want to ramp, they want to do their Tipo into their Pleakley, like Webby's going to get you a lot of ink there. So that's really important. The other thing is Webby is a warded character, so she can set up your Malicious, Mean, and Scary really well. She can set up your Welcome really well, and that is extremely important. Even your Mother Knows Best, because there's some games where you'll just start getting blown out. They'll have answers for everything, but there was a game where I dropped a Webby on turn 8, and then turn 9, or I guess on 8 ink, and then on 9 ink I played that Prince Philip with Webby singing Malicious, Mean, and Scary, and that felt really good. The list is felt great. Again, it still has a lot of decision trees because there's a lot of different shift lines. You're running 4 shift lines in this list, so that's something to keep in mind. And the deck is still slow, but it's a lot different when you have something like Prince Philip that can wipe the whole board. But the deck has felt really good. Again, where blue is a popular deck, this deck is going to see success, and that's a really big deal. So definitely something to check out. But if you do not like long grindy matches, it is not the list for you. Okay, just take my word for it. You're not like, you will always have long grindy matches with this deck. But what could we possibly change? Going to 4 of Prince Philip and Malicious, Mean, and Scary. I think that would be a big help, because that combo piece is really important. And it's something I play with off and on, because we have our Amethyst Chromicons, we have a lot of draw, so we're going to see those MMSs and those Prince Philips. So I don't know if we need 4 of each, but it would certainly help the consistency of the deck. The other thing is Under the Sea. If green yellow dogs gets really popular, then Under the Sea, green yellow Circle of Life, because I don't think green yellow dogs is coming back, but green yellow Circle of Life builds this really wide board, and so if you don't answer it soon enough, they can get out of hand really quickly. So Under the Sea could come back. One thing that this deck did really well is it uses Under the Sea very quickly when you have so many shift lines, especially with Webby now. Like, there's just a lot of things you can do to get that Under the Sea down. So Under the Sea might come in. So how would we change it? Possibly dropping the Donald Ducks. Maybe we drop 2 Donald Ducks to go to 4 of Prince Philip and 4 of Malicious, Mean, and Scary. That could be an option as well. So there's a couple different things, but losing Hey Hey was really, really big deal for this deck, and something that I do not miss at all. It was fun to play them. I love people's reactions to playing Hey Hey, but Webby has been awesome. So again, if you like long grinding matches and decks that require decision trees, maybe give some Brainiac a try. Next up, though, we have something that is not long and grindy. Okay, we have red purple, and this list is really interesting because there's no sharks, right? We haven't seen a sharkless red purple list for a while, but what you're doing with this list is you're playing a character that's hard to deal with and then just questing. Like, so we go from Brainiac, which requires a metric ton of decision trees, and you have to, every turn requires planning for a future turn, and then you play red purple and you just play a character and you turn it sideways. Like, people give aggro a really hard time for being turned sideways, and it has nothing. Like, it has nothing on this. Like, aggro requires some decision trees. This does not. You go on turn 1, you play a Tinkerbell, a Moana, a Rafiki, you pass. You go on turn 2, you play a Diablo, you play a Violet, you quest, you pass. You play a Sizu, you quest, you pass. You get the idea. And the decision trees on this deck are phenomenally extremely easy. Okay, there's nothing to it. So looking at some of the things that you could do with this deck, like, that's the idea. You just play a character, you quest, and then all of your characters trade with everything. So if your opponent wants to take any of your characters out, they're going to lose their character in the process. None of your lists gets answered by things like Sizu. It doesn't get answered by Under the Sea. So it's just really big. So, and how this came to be, again, shout out to Lorcana. He kept saying this thing over and over and over again in the green blue thread, in that answering a Diablo into Sizu is really, really tough. That's a really strong opening. So that's kind of what I just ran with. And then I saw another prominent player post a red purple list. David again actually post a red purple list that was almost card for card what I was already working with, and I was like, well, if he thinks this works, then I must be on the right track. And the list has just felt great. So if you want a deck where, again, you like red purple colors and you want to just turn sideways, this is the deck for you. Like, it has a lot of draw mechanics. Okay, I wasn't super high on Hades. I did a poll in my Discord, and everybody, like, Hades is what people think will be the most expensive legendary in 2 weeks, and I just don't understand. And then I started playing Hades in this list, and I could understand a little bit more, because you always draw 2 cards, and there was one match I'm just going and going and going. I chose an opponent's character, and they chose to banish because they had to quit giving me cards that quested for 2 or were hard to deal with. So Hades just feels really, really good. Headless Horseman, it has felt great answering, again, some of those annoying characters that you need to answer, and then also gives all your characters more challenge, so you can take things out if you need to. Library was something I was a little iffy on, because Library can be slow, but again, it's an 8 health location that gains you 1 lore every time. So now your opponent has to deal with that while also dealing with your board that trades into everything. So the Library has felt really good. And Demona, I think I've played her once out of 15 games. Demona, by the time I get to that much ink, like, I don't often need it because I've been drawing so many cards that I have more than 3 cards in hand anyways. So the list has felt really good. As far as changes, things we could do, we could possibly run the 1-cost Diablo instead of something like Rafiki. I don't think that would be a bad choice. The Diablo just getting you that free lore. People don't necessarily want to take it out because they don't want to give you more draw. So that could be an option. There are games where Rafiki's felt really good though. So That could be an option. If aggro comes back really hard, if green yellow circle of life becomes a very prominent deck, then Sizu would feel really good. Your uninkable count does go a little high. You go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you'd go to, you're at 10 uninkables right now. So however many Sizus you add. But if like that could be a good way to turn that battle, is you use a Sizu to take out a prominent character. If Amber Steel aggro comes back, then Sizu could take out a prominent character, and then Sizu feeds your Dumbo. So that is an option as well. And then finally, White Rose, maybe. I don't think so. Because I don't know what we would take out to make it fit. Probably like Hermes has felt really weak. He's good. He's great on the draw, but again, all of our list trades into everything that our opponent is challenging us with. So Hermes never really has any targets, and that's felt really bad. So I think you could possibly replace Hermes with White Rose to gain that free lore, and I think you'd be happy with that choice. So I think I'll do some experimenting with that, going that direction, because again, if you go Moana into Diablo, then when your opponent trades, they're losing their character. There's nothing that lives for your Hermes to even attack at that point, or to challenge at that point. But the list, it's felt great. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to see where it turns up at. And then next up, we've got some Amber Steel aggro. Again, I made a Twitter post about this. A lot of people think Amber Steel aggro is just a dead and gone deck, and you're going to be really upset when you find out that it is most definitely not. Amber Steel has gone nowhere. Amber Steel aggro has gone nowhere. People just think that because of things like Spooky Nights that no one is playing, that it's gone. But the thing is, all these green blue players that were running things like Under the Sea and Baymaxes, they're not running that anymore. They're all running Prince Philip. So as long as they stay on Prince Philip, you just win before they can ever play the Prince Philip combo. So that's really important. Blurple is not around anymore, it will be around without a doubt, but it's not going to be the most played deck anymore, I don't think. So you do lose that easy win, but again, looking at the list, we have Thunderbolts, so we have the ability to trade with that, and then Strength of a Raging Fire and Fire the Cannon, so a lot of ways to answer our opponent's board. So you have that option. You have Mowgli, which is great on the play, so that's a really good option. But some of the things you can do with this list is you can do something like Daisy into a Troubadour into a Lady and Nala, or something Daisy into Troubadour into Raja, and then you use Troubadour to take something out with Thunderbolt or Strength of a Raging Fire. You have Fire the Cannons to answer your opponent's board. So there are a lot of options. I will admit right off this list has felt really good into the meta. Like, do not get me wrong, this list has felt good. It's just very different than what Amber Steel aggro was last set. So it is not nearly as fast, and it does require a couple more options. It will go a little bit longer, but it's felt really good. And when you go longer, that's more chances to find Doc, and you're controlling the field with Thunderbolt and Strength of a Raging Fire. The list has felt good, but there is another direction that I do want to go with it, and that's this support line. And this is something that I'll be testing throughout next week, is running this Elenwe, Rapunzel, Tiana, and Aurora package. So we have a lot of princesses at this point to feed Aurora, so we can do something like turn 1 Aurora into Elenwe plus Rapunzel if we wanted to go that route, into a Tiana on turn 3, and then our support characters like with Rapunzel can now protect Tiana. So now, yes, they could Thunderbolt, but again, a steel deck that isn't Amber Steel isn't Thunderbolting anytime soon. So, but now with Rapunzel, what happens is if you go Elenwe into Rapunzel into Tiana, then your opponent can't Thunderbolt yet anyways, unless they hard cast it or something like that. So you have the ability to kind of protect your Tiana with these support characters, so they can't Thunderbolt her anyways. So now Tiana becomes incredibly difficult to deal with. They have to send 2 characters into her. They can't just play something like a Cobra, and then Cobra can just pay the Tiana tax and take out Tiana. That's not possible anymore, because you have to hit Tiana twice. So this Rapunzel package with the support mechanic could work really well. We just have to make room for it. Some of the ways that we could do that is probably cutting Mowgli. I think would be a really good option to cut. Cutting Raja, it would feel okay. And then maybe even cutting the fire of the cannons. Like, there's some things we could do. Maybe we even cut Rhino, and maybe we don't need the Rhino line anymore. So that could be an option as well. But this is something that I think could work really well, because you could hard alter for Aurora into Tiana. You could hard alter for Eloise into Rapunzel, and they support each other and they're hard to get rid of. So there's just a lot of different options. You could even add in the Queen. You could add in more bodyguards if you wanted, something like Jim Deere or the Prince, and then you support them with Rapunzel down, and now your opponent has to somehow get through that bodyguard, as well as one of their characters' attacks are not going to count, or one of the damage dealing effects are not going to count. So there's a lot of different options. So if you think Amber Steel's gone, you're gonna have a really rough awakening on week 1 or week 2, and when you find out that Amber Steel is not gone and you had nothing to deal with it. So rejoice, my aggro people. So next up, what I wanted to do with this is, these are lists that I want to test, but I have not gotten to testing. And what this is, so first off, Whispers and Deck Notes, a Lorcana testing journal. If you guys have followed me for a while or seen my Dreamborn, I do all the Dreamborns where it says notes in the description. And a lot of people have really enjoyed that. When I stopped doing it, I got some messages that, why did I stop? So what I've done now is, so it can all be in one place. One of the things that I hated doing the most with those notes is that I would test something, but I would lose the deck list that it was, because I removed it from Dreamborn. So now Whispers and Deck Notes, what I'm doing, it's a Metafy. It's completely free. Okay, I'm not charging for anything. It's mostly for me and anyone else who wants to see how my brain works. But what it does is, now I can put each list that I test into the Metafy, and I can explain why I'm removing something, why I'm adding something, the new deck list, if I reverted back to an older deck list, and it's all in one place, and it has all the lists that I'm testing. So if you guys want to check that out, there's the QR code. The link will be in the description as well, and you guys can check that out. Again, completely free. Okay, I'm not charging people for notes while I'm playing a game. Anyways, the other 3 things are just lists that I want to try. I just haven't gotten to actually testing them yet, because I've been testing so many other things. Starting from the top, on the right, we have green blue. That's the Ink Geyser list from Brock that he ran at the DLC, and that's probably that and Brainiac is the only fun that I had last set, and it's felt phenomenal. And right now, just running his list in this new set has felt good, but it feels weird not running any of the set 10 cards. So I want to experiment and see if there's set 10 cards that we can run. Maybe we do throw in the Prince Philip package in there. Maybe that is an option that we could do. Maybe we don't need Under the Sea and Sapphire Coil and things like that. Maybe there's room for Webby. But again, I haven't gotten around to testing that piece yet. Next up is Green Steel. The Green Steel list on the second there is something that I've just been messing with. It's a mid-range list that is really prioritizing messing up combos. You really want to get that Shift Pete down, or you can get the Webby down. The Webby is giving you a great singer, letting you catch up on ink. And the idea is you just empty your hand, getting to the Demona or the Max Goofs, because when you empty your hand, Max Goof is letting you Max Goof are letting you replay those songs to control the board and things like that. But the deck, I just feel like, is missing something. I didn't enjoy Green Steel necessarily last set, and I don't know, something I definitely have to mess with. And at the bottom is Blue Steel. This is something, it's from Harlan's list on Dreamborn, Harlan's Suite, his 246 list. I really liked the idea of it, but there's just some things I wanted to change. I don't think that we needed, he's running a Captain Hook in his list, and I didn't feel like we needed that. So I cut the Captain Hooks, I upped the Thunderbolts to 4, and then I added the Headless Horseman in. Again, this list, I think what you can really do is, I think you have time to be a little greedy. You play a Mulan on 1 to cycle your deck. You play a Tipo, you play Pleakley to get rid of the Tipo or the Mulan, and then, or you play a Cinderella to cycle your deck and ink more. And then next thing you know, you just like that, you're on your 5 drops and your 6 drops. And it's so much easier now running Pleakley and Cinderella to be able to do that. So you can get to that point so easily that it's not even a problem. And so now you have the Jasmine, which answers evases. You have the Robin Hood that answers the evases. And then you have Beyond the Horizon to mess with the green-blue players that are holding onto their Prince Philip pieces. So Vincenzo questing for a lot, the Headless Horseman just taking things out. And then, of course, Goliath coupled with Beyond Horizon is a lot of really good draw option that also disrupts what your opponent's trying to do. So there's just a lot of good options. I think Blue Steel is definitely going to be a top tier deck this set. You're just playing massive characters for on turn 4 or turn 5, and that's really disgusting. Like, it really is. So I think Blue Steel is going to be a huge meta contender and really dictate what the meta does this set. I just haven't played with it yet, so full honesty there. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I think set 10 is shaping up to be some of the most fun we've had in Lorcana in a really long time, where there's so much plausible opportunities for decks that you can play. So if you've ever wanted to play anything, now is the time to really push it. All right, you'll notice no Blurple and no Purple Steel in this. That's just not my forte. I don't play a lot of those decks, and so I didn't include them because I haven't tested them, and we saw enough of it last set that I didn't care to see more of it. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember you can support me, like, subscribe. I'm starting to stream again 3 days a week where we test builds. If you have proxies, join the stream and we'll proxy it out. If you have webcam. But yeah, above all else, ladies and gentlemen, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you around, okay?